to you all.
Good morning, ma'am.
Right.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. If you are making any disturbance in the class, right, then the whole class will be punished. Now you see the students' behavior, what you are doing, right? So if you want any help, anything, then I will give everything to you. But if you are making any disturbance in the class, everything will be stopped and the whole class will be punished. If you are making the disturbance during the lectures time. And all the students must be entered with a registration number for the Zoom meetings. Right. In the last class, we looked at about the types of business statistics. There are two major classifications we have, descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. Then we looked about the descriptive statistics. It is consists of methods for organizing, displaying and describing data by using the tables, the graphs, and the summary measures. The purpose of this descriptive statistics, all these methods, that means the tables, graphs, and the summary measures such as mean, median, standard deviations, all the measures will be used to describe the data you have. Then these are some examples. This is also we looked at in the last class. So now we are moving to the inferential statistics. So under the inferential statistics, there are two main methods we will use to make decision. That is estimation and the hypothesis testing. So this, accordingly, the inferential statistics consist of the methods which are used, the sample results to draw conclusion about a population, right? We will use the sample results to draw the conclusions about a population. So the inferential statistics involves making an estimate, prediction, or decision about a population based on the data obtained from a sample. So here, the main objective of using the inferential statistics, decision making, but to make decision, we have to get a sample and we have to collect the data from that sample, and we will use some statistical measures or we compute the statistical methods, or we compute the statistical measures, and we will do some hypothesis testing using the sample results. And what are the results we obtain through this estimation or hypothesis testing? Then we will use those results to make the decision, right? So the main objective or main purpose of this inferential statistic is making decision about the population characteristics using the sample results, right? So now we are looking at this example. Here survey results used to looking at whether the TV commercials motivated to shop at a particular retailer, right? They want to find it. So then they will make a survey of. Here you look at, they make a survey. To conduct that survey, they considered 8,860 adults. And from among these adults, they collect the information regarding whether the particular TV commercials motivate to shop at a particular retailer? Then they collected just 18% say that yes. Okay, I will again stop my sharing and then restart, right? Now is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Then they collect yes. There are three options they asked. Whether the commercials are motivated to shop at a particular shop, or whether the commercial has no impact. Usually the particular customer is regularly, or the TV commercials that, did not motivate. By using the results collected from 8,860 adults, they make the decision for the particular region or for a particular country, right? So this is an example for a inferential statistics. 1 minute. Right. So now if you're looking at these two examples in the statement forward, how you can say that the first example is a inferential statistics, and what is the measure used? Read the first example and you say that what is the measure used to make the decision and how you can justify here the inferential statistics is applied. You can write your answer in the chat box. What is the statistical measure used to make the decision and how you can justify? This is an example for a inferential statistics. Write your answers in the chat box. Measurement is percentage, that's fine. Then how you can say that this is an example for a inferential statistics? Anyone? Percentage, and it's based on, yeah, how you are saying that it is based on population. That is the thing why I'm asking, justification. How you are saying that this is made based on the population. Right. If it's a sample, then they will mention in the example, they will mention how many women entrepreneurs they took and what is the measure for that particular sample. But here they mention in Sri Lanka. They didn't make any fact. They considered as a sample. So in Sri Lanka, that means the whole country, they make a decision that 25% of the establishment are run by women entrepreneurs or decision making. In the rural, they have 35%, but in the urban, 28%. If we go to the previous slide, now here you look at in the descriptive statistics, they mention a survey of 1,080 adults. Right? So they didn't hear, there is no any fact that they made the decision for the whole country. Right? Only they are based on the 1,080 adults, they calculated this measure. Here also the 50 largest corporations. So this indicates these are the descriptive statistics. But this is not the case for the next case. Here, there is no any clue about the sample. Here, they make the statement for the country. Right? So here also, 46.60 firms in Sri Lanka using banks to finance working capital. This is also, they are looking at for the country. This decision is for the country. So, if there is no any clue about the sample, then this is coming under the inferential statistics, right? Now we look at the 4 main terms used in the inferential statistics. One is a population, sample, parameter, and statistic. When we are, for whatever lesson we are learning, mainly in the inferential statistics, often we will talk about these 4 key terms. So these are the key concepts we are going to use in the inferential statistics. First, we will look at population and the sample. Can you hear my voice clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we are looking at what is the population. So, from this diagram or picture, what do you think about? Population is a large one comparing to the sample. And also, we are picking sum of members from this population to construct a sample. Right? So, accordingly, the population is the entire set of people or objects whose characteristics being studied. Right? So, the population is the entire set. This is the main word, the entire set. It may be people or it may be objects whose characteristics are being studied. Now, if we want to look at the salary of a Sri Lankan adult, right? If we want to look at the average salary of a Sri Lankan adult, then the population is the whole or all adult Sri Lankans, all right? Or all adults living in Sri Lanka, right? If we want to look at the lifetime, average lifetime of a newly produced electricity bulb or LED bulb, then your population will be the all newly produced LED bulbs. All newly produced LED bulbs. So in this case, our entire set is objects. In the salary case, our entire set is a people. Right? So it may be people or it may be objects. But whose characteristics being studied, that is the main thing. So in the first case, the characteristic is salary of an adult. In the second case, the characteristic is a LED, newly produced LED bulb lifetime. Right? So sometimes the population is referred to as the universe. Right? In also, the population that is being studied is also called target population. So there are names entirely we are using. Population or universe or target population. Right? Then sample, a portion of the population selected for a study is referred to as sample. If we are picking up a number of persons that is smaller than the whole set, then that is called as a sample. So a sample, this is a portion, but population, entire. These two terms are different, used to distinguish between the population and the sample. Now we are looking at the examples, right? So now here we are taking what we want to study. Now first example, we want to study for the average income of an adult citizen in Sri Lanka. So how we are going to define or identify the population? Now we are taking all adult citizens in Sri Lanka. So what is the characteristic being studied? Income. We are looking at the income of an adult. We are looking at the income of an adult citizen in Sri Lanka. That is our interest. So for that one, we have to identify the population. So in the population, all adult citizen in Sri Lanka. Then sample, 1,000 adult citizens selected in Sri Lanka. So from the all, we narrow down to the 1,000 adult citizens. Then second one, financial performance of small and medium enterprises in the Eastern University, in the Eastern Province. We want to look at the financial performance of SMEs in the Eastern Province. Then what is the characteristics we are going to study? Here, the financial performance. Right? So we can looking at the profit, right? We can looking at the profit of a small and medium enterprises. Then that will be the characteristic. Then what is our population? Every small and medium or all small and medium enterprises in the Eastern Province. These are the terms indicate that is the population. And Sri Lanka and the Eastern Province. So here we looking at the Sri Lanka, here we looking at the Eastern Province. So each and every small and medium enterprise in the Eastern Province. Then what is our sample? From the small and medium enterprises, the all small and medium enterprises situated in the Eastern Province, only we are selecting 10 small and medium enterprises by using some technique randomly selected from each divisional secretariat division in the Eastern Province, right? So here the 10s indicate a sample, every indicator population. Then our third interest of study, percentage of female internet users in the Western Province. Percentage of female internet users in Western Province. Then how we define our population? All internet users in the Western Province. We want to calculate only the female percentage. So to identify the female internet users, we use all internet users in the Western Province because our region is Western Province. Then how we define our sample? Only 148 internet users selected in Western Province. Right? We are looking at only 148 internet users. So, sorry. This is the method. If we have an interest of study, and then based on the interest of study, you have to know that how you can define a population and how you can define a sample. Right? Did you get the understanding how you can differentiate the population and sample?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any disturbance in the raining sound?
No, ma'am.
No, it's my voice is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then I am moving to the next slide. Right. Parameter versus statistic. This is another two terms often we are looking at, the parameter versus statistics, right? The first thing you have to look at, the parameter is always related to population. That is a numerical measure, right? That is simply we can say that a parameter is a numerical measure. This is used to describe a characteristic of a population, right? The parameter is a numerical measure that is used to describe a characteristic of a population. Now you're looking at 46.6% of the firms in Sri Lanka using banks to finance working capital. So here, what is the numerical measure we used? Percentage, right? The numerical measure we used is a percentage, 46.6%. So, to which, whether this percentage is used to population or sample, it is used to population because we are looking at this for the Sri Lanka, right? So, 46.6% of firms in Sri Lanka using banks to finance working capital. So, it is a population parameter. That parameter is a percentage. Here we are using percentage as a parameter to describe the population characteristic, right? So get me 1 minute. Right. Then in the second example, a person working in Sri Lanka typically earns around 89,800 Lankan rupees per month. So here, what is the measure we used? Can you put the answer in the text box? The second example, what is the measure, numerical measure we used to describe? This is also the last time I told that currency is not a measure. We have to looking at in the population context, sorry, statistical context. In the statistical context, what is the measure we used? Average, yes. This is the right answer. This is the last class also we discussed about it, right? So the average measure, Lankan typically earns around, here per Sri Lankan, we are defining what is the salary. So if we are taking a per Sri Lankan, a person working in Sri Lanka typically earns around 89,800 Lankan rupees per month. So the statistical measure we used is a average. So the parameter in this context, the parameter is a population mean, right? In addition to that one, we use the lowest average, minimum average. This is also statistical measure, and also mean use the maximum average to describe the Sri Lankan salary. Right? So why we are saying that it is a population? Because we are talking about the Sri Lankan, not for the particular adult, right? In a particular region. We are describing this one for a Sri Lankan. So it is a population measure. So a parameter is a numerical measure that used to describe the characteristic of a population. In this case, the characteristic is whether they use the working capital. In this case, the characteristic is salary. Right? And for in two cases, we calculated or we counted those characteristics for the whole country. So that is a population parameter. But for the statistic, it is also numerical measure, but that is used to describe a characteristic of a sample. The statistic is a numerical measure used to describe a characteristic of a sample. Right? Yes. Right. So here, a green survey of 1,080 adults revealed that 54% agreed that plastic non-compostable shopping bags should be banned. So here it indicates this term, 1,080 adults indicate it is a sample. And here this percentage indicates we are looking at the measure, statistical measure used to describe regarding the banning of non-compostable shopping bags percentage. Right? So in this case, this percentage is a statistic that is equal to 54%. In this case, the parameter is a percentage that is equal to 46.60%. Right? Then when we are looking at the second example, in the median compensation for the CEOs of the 50 largest corporation in the S&P 500 was 15.7 million. So here the statistic is median, right? This is a numerical measure, median. So how we are saying that it is a statistic? We are only looking at 50 largest corporations. So we are looking at the compensation of the 50 largest corporation. So the 50 largest corporation is a sample. So this measure, median is calculated to this sample so that this median is a statistic. And this statistic is equal to the 15.7 million. The median is 15.7 million is a statistic because only this is calculated for 50 largest corporations. But in this case, the mean is a numerical measure parameter. Why we are saying that this is a parameter? We calculated for this whole country, the Sri Lanka. We made this one for the Sri Lanka. So the parameter and statistic both are numerical measures, right? It may be the percentage, or it may be the mean, or it may be the median, or it may be the minimum value, or it may be the maximum value, or it may be the standard deviation, any numerical measures in the context of statistical numerical measures. But population parameter is calculated for population and statistic is calculated for sample, right? So parameter is always related to population, statistic is always related to sample. Now, have you have the understanding on the parameter and statistic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we are putting the summary, right? So now we have some interest to study about the particular attribute of a population, sorry, individuals, or a particular attribute of objects. So first we have to identify the population, that is all of the individual of interest or all of the objects of interest, that will be the population. Then what we are doing, from this we are picking up a part of the individuals. There are some techniques, the statistics will provide some techniques to identify the sample from the interest of population. Then the sample is selected from the population. Then what we are doing, from this sample, which attribute we are interested, that information we are collecting. The individual selected to participate in the research study is the sample. From that, we will calculate or we will collect the interest of attributes, and then we will calculate some measures. Then this calculated results from the sample will be generalized to the population. So the half circle is the descriptive, then this half circle is the inferential statistics. Right, up to this, we will use the descriptive statistical measures, and to come to these measures, we will use the inferential statistics. Right. Now here, two different statements are there. Now you look at which statement is related to sample and which statement is related to population. You unmute your mic and say that. One of the students, please unmute the mic and say which statement is related to sample and which statement is related to population. Read these two statements in the box and identify which statement is related to sample and which statement is related to population.
Ma'am.
Yes.
First one is related to population.
Yes.
The second one is related to sample.
Right. How you are saying that first one is related to population?
It is select by the population is in Sri Lanka.
Yes, it is we looking at for the Sri Lanka. Then what is the characteristic here, attribute we observed?
In percentage.
That is a statistical measure, right? That is a statistical measure, a percentage. The
Yes.
characteristic, which characteristics we are looking at?
Working capital.
Working capital, financing, related to the financing, whether we are using bank to finance, right? Not working capital, whether we use bank to finance or not. Then what is the population parameter here in the first statement? The same student can answer. What is the population parameter?
70.60%.
Right, 70.60% is the population parameter. Similarly, in the second case, how you are saying that it is related to descriptive statistics?
It is taken by the Western province.
Not only Western province.
It indicate the number also 120.
Yes, a survey of 1,245 internet users. Suppose if this 1,245 is not mentioned, then this is also indicate the population, right? Mainly this number indicates, right? 1,245 internet users indicates it is a sample. Here also we looking at the calculate the percentage to the sample. So the statistic is percentage, that is equal to 54%. So here the parameter is percentage, that is equal to 70.60%. Here the statistic is percentage, that is equal to 54%. Right? Now are you clear with this population, sample, parameter, and the statistic and the characteristic? Are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right. Okay. Right. Now we are looking at the role of statistics in the business world. Right. What are the importance of statistics in the business world? First importance, as we looking it in the definition, we can use statistics for make sense of numerical information. Right? Lot of numerical data we are generated from the business world. So to convert this data, numerical numbers or numerical facts, to make a information, we have to use the statistics, right? So statistics making sense of numerical information. Then we can use statistics to identify, to select the sample, because we can't consider all the individuals or all the objects, population, to make decision, because it's a time consuming and cost and everything we have to looking at. So by using a sample in the minimal cost with a minimum time, we can quickly make our decision. So to select how we have to select the sample, we can use statistics. Then dealing with the uncertainty, right? Almost all our business decisions are when we are predicting our business activities. That is in the future, we don't know what will happen, right? If there is some strike occur for a long period, then how we can't say that what will be our business, right? Now, looking at the pandemic, here also, we couldn't say that what will happen to our business. But the statistics provides methods to deal with the uncertainty, right? By looking at the likelihood of the activity, in the numbers, we can say that to what percentage we can sure with our decision in the future, right? So what will be the profit in future? And everything we can, by using the statistics, we can deal with the uncertainty. We can analyze the relationship, right? What is the relationship between the service quality and the customer satisfaction, right? What is the relationship between the cost of the advertisement and the profit, right? So what is the relationship between the corporate CSR activities and the financial performance, right? So these kind of relationship we can analyze. Then as with the forecasting, we can make the forecasting. What will be the sales in 2 years, in the 2 years in future, right? What will be the demand for a newly marketed product in future, right? And also the decision making in uncertain environment. That is with how we are dealing with uncertainty in the uncertain environment, how we can make the decision, right? So here, each and every point we explain with the example. Then you read these examples and you can get the proper understanding. What is the making sense of numerical information? Read these 2 points and looking at, then based on that examples, you can explain the role of the statistics in the business world, right? So I am giving it as a reference to you. Then these slides, you have to get the understanding by reading these slides, right? Right. Now here we have 2 examples to appreciate the role of statistics in the managerial decision making, right? So now we read the first example. Now you take a 2 minutes time and read the first example. Right. So here, actually, what's happening here? A company has to decide whether to introduce a new product in the market, right? They want to decide. They have a plan to introduce a new product. So currently, they have to decide whether it's a correct time to introduce their product into the market. So they have a benchmark. If the company will introduce the product into the market, if at least 25% of the target audience, that means your target population, target audience in the relevant population will accept the product, so that the risk of the product failure is minimized. So they're having a benchmark. At least 25% of the individual population accepting their product, they are ready to buy their product, then they are ready to introduce that product into the market. This is their benchmark. This one will be decided based on their historical background or their experience, knowledge experience, right? From the previous facts, they formulated this benchmark. So actually here, what is the consumer acceptance is very important to make this decision, right? That is the concept. Consumer acceptance, they want to find out. So to find out the consumer acceptance, what they are doing, they are doing a test marketing exercise. That means they are conducting a survey and they are asking whether they will accept their product, or already they gave that product to the consumers and they are asking whether you will buy this product in future. Often you will buy this product in future. Similarly, some question, whether you satisfy with this product, like some questions they are asking. They gave that product to the customers, consumers, and then they are asking the experience related to that product from those consumers, right? So in that case, they consider 250 consumers. From the population, they selected only 250 consumers, right? And based on their experience with that product, they say that 26% of the sample target audience indicated their acceptance of the product. They can ask about the nutrition facts, taste, and the color. Some attributes they can ask regarding in the test marketing exercise. Then they come to the conclusion, out of this 250 consumers, only 26% are ready to accept their product. So now we have to make the decision whether the particular who is the potential population. The potential population will accept their product, or they can introduce the product to the market or not. They have to make the decision based on this 26% of the target audience with acceptance among 250 consumers. So here, to make this decision, whether we can introduce this product, we have to find out, does the sample result at 95% confidence level suggest that 25% of the target audience in the population? For this question, we have to answer. So in this case, we have to apply our statistics. Hypothesis testing, we have to apply. Without applying this hypothesis testing, we cannot make whether we have to introduce the product or not. So here, statistics is very important to make the decision whether to introduce a new product or not based on this sample information. Right? Similarly, you read this example and looking at how this is appreciate the statistics in the managerial decision making. Right? So up to this. So the key terms we used in this subject, you have to know clearly each and every term explained with the examples, right? This is one of the questions you will get in your assessment or in the final exam also. So you have to be able to define what is statistics or business statistics. You will be able to explain descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, population, sample, parameter, and statistics. These are the main key terms we use with the examples, with the clear explanations, not briefly. Clearly, you will be able to explain all these terms with the examples, right? For all these terms, you have in your slide, accordingly, you have to study, right? Okay. So here are some chapter review exercises. This is also you have to practice. And if you have any doubts on these exercises, then you can ask me, right? But so if you answer those things clearly, and if you have any doubts, bring with your answers, and then you can clarify from me, right? By sharing your answer documents, and then you can clarify your doubts, right? Without answering any questions, don't ask any explanations from me, right? You practice all these questions and write your answers. And if you have any doubt in your answers, then by sharing your answers, you can get the explanation from me, right? So from the next class onwards, 15 minutes time give to you to get any clarifications from the previous chapters, right? Applications, right. Now I'm stopping this, I am stop this sharing and go to the next section. Is my PowerPoint slides is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Here, introduction to business statistics and data. In the previous sessions, we looked at about the business statistics, introduction to statistics and the business statistics. But here we are going to cover second part, data. This is very important to have a clear understanding on it, because all other chapters are depending on the data. So you have to get clear idea regarding what is data. Whether the slides are moving or can you see the learning outcomes?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have to, what are the learning outcomes? At the end of the session, you will be able to explain the terms, elements, variables, and observations when they are used in the statistics. In the context of statistics, what is the meaning of elements? What is the meaning of variables? What is the meaning of observations? Then you will be able to state the 4 scales of measurements in the context of statistics, And also you will be able to provide an example for each. Then there are variables coming. You will be able to describe how a discrete variable is different from a continuous variable. You will be able to distinguish between a qualitative variable and a quantitative variable. And also you will be able to explain difference between the quantitative data and qualitative data, as well as cross-sectional data and the time series data. These are the main learning outcomes you will be achieved through this session. Right. Accordingly, the contents for this session: variable and measurement, scales of measurement, types of variables, data types, key terms used in part 2, and the review problems. Right. First, we are coming to the data. So first we look at the example. Here you have a data set. Right. So here we are considering employees. There are in a small firm or in a small enterprises, a small enterprise, there are 5 employees working, or there are maybe 5 employees we selected from their employees profile files. They are named as A, B, C, D, and we are looking at some characteristics of those employees. So according to this data set, what are the characteristics here we are looking at? Anyone, student, you unmute your mic and say accordingly the given data set, what are the characteristics of the employees we are looking at? Or what are the attributes of the employees we are looking at? From this table,
Gender.
yes, gender, then
Salary,
education, years
and
of
experience.
Right? These 4 are the attributes or characteristics of the employees. We are interested about looking about the gender pattern of the employees. We are interested about looking at the salary of the employees. We are looking at the education qualifications of the employees, and we are interested in looking at the years of experience of those employees. So this table provides the data. Right? So now we are looking at data are the facts and figures which are collected, analyzed, and summarized for presentation and interpretations. Right? Data are the simply numerical facts. Why we are looking at the data? Because we want to analyze and summarize and presentation and interpretation for a particular interest. Right? Then data set. All the data collected in a particular study are referred to as a data set. So this is a data set. Right? This male is a data. 42,300 is a data. Diploma is a data, 8 is a data. Similarly, each and every entry on these cells are data. If you're looking at all this data as a spreadsheet format, then it is called as a data set. So a data set consists of more than one data. Right? So how many employees here we considered to collect this information? How many employees we considered? Anyone?
5.
5 employees, right? The above table shows a data set containing information for 5 employees of a company. So if we're looking at the employee A, then what is the gender of employee A? What is the gender of employee A?
Male.
Male. What is his education?
Diploma.
Diploma. What is the experience of employee D?
8 years.
15 years.
15 years. For employee D, 15 years of experience. Similarly, we can looking at the each and every
Diploma.
employee characteristic, right? Right. Then another term, elements.
15 years.
Yes, elements, variables, and observations. Right. First, you read what is elements and find out what are the elements in this data set. Read it and any one of the students say what are the elements in this data set.
Employment or historical states of 5 people. It's an element, ma'am.
But now you look at clearly. You have an answer in your statement, but that's not correct. Again, you read it. Elements are the entities on which data are collected. So from whom we collected the data? From whom we collected the data?
Employees.
Employees. That is the answer, right? Elements are the entities on which data are collected. So employee is an element. So here 5, how many elements are there? 5 employees.
5.
So 5 elements are there. Right. Now looking at the second definition and tell the examples for the second definition. From this given data set, tell the example for the second concept.
Gender, salary,
Yes.
education.
There are 4 variables we have, right? So how we are saying that a variable is a characteristic or attribute of interest for the elements. So first you have to know that what is element. Element, in this case, element is an employee. So what are the characteristics we are interested for these elements? Gender of the employee, salary of the employee, education of the employee, years of experience of the employee. Right? So now you are clear with elements and variable. Now you read the third one and tell the examples from this data set. Any student? Read carefully, right? Right. First we take the gender, right? So what are the measurements we collected on gender? For
Male or female.
Now we are looking at the first term. Now you look at measurements collected on each variable for every element in a study. Provide the data. So measurement collected on each variable. So first we look at the variable gender. For every element. So we are looking at the element A. So what is the measurement we collected for A with gender? Male. So this is the data. Then if we are looking at the second employee with salary. What is the measurement for second employee with salary? Salary for the second employee? 42,400. So this is the data. if we look at the D, employee, and we are looking at the education, what is the measurement for the education of employee D?
MBA.
MBA. So MBA is a data. Similarly, each and every new fact, each and every fact in these cells are the measurements which are providing the data, right? These measurements are providing the data, right? So now this is the third point. The set of measurements obtained for a particular element is called an observation. So what are the observations we got for employee A? What are the observations we got for employee A?
The employee is a male
Mm.
and he got salary 42,300 rupees.
Yes.
And education, he got diploma level.
Yes.
And year of experience, he works at 8 years.
Very good. So these 4 measurements is made as an observation for employee A. Is it right? Right. Now you have the understanding on elements, variable, measurements, and the observation. Are you okay with those concepts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Now we move to the next slide. So now with those examples, now here we are defining measurement of a variable, right? A variable. Now here coming to the proper definition. A variable is a logical grouping of attributes, right? A variable is a logical grouping of attributes that can be observed and measured and is expected to vary from element to element in a population, right? So for each and every element in a population should have different values. Then only this is coming as a variable. But it has a group of attributes, right? A logical grouping of attributes which can be observed or measured, right? Now we are looking at the first example, gender of owners of small and medium enterprises in Sri Lanka, right? So here our element is enterprise, small and medium enterprise, or owner of small and medium enterprise. Here we are looking at the gender. So gender of owners is a variable. And what are the measurements for this variable? Male and female, right? Then when we are looking at the second example, marks of first year undergraduates obtained in business mathematics in 2020 at Eastern University, Sri Lanka. So here what is our element? First year undergraduate who set business mathematics in 2020 at Eastern University. Here your element is first year undergraduate who set business mathematics in 2020 at Eastern University. So the variable marks of, we are interested in looking at the marks of those students for the business mathematics subject. So what are the measurements? Maybe 0 to 100. So these describe the variables, and the following are the measurements of the variables, right? So according to this one, measurement is generally described as an assignment of numbers or labels to the attributes of a variable by following a set of rules, right? So there may be some, experimentally we have a set of rules. Based on the set of rules, we are assigned the attributes, numbers or labels. For the gender, historically, we have the gender as a male and female, right? So if we are looking at gender, then we are assigning gender may be male or gender may be female. Then the marks. Historically, we are giving the marks in the percentage, that is 0 to 100. So here we are assigning for each and every student based on their performance, whether it is 0 or 10 or 50 or 75 or 100. So this is the relationship between the measurement and the variable. Right. Now, another important concept, scales of measurements. Right. Now, when we are looking at the weights, how we are measuring in the weights in our real day-to-day life, what are the measurements, units we are using in our day-to-day life to measure the weights? What are the units we are using? Any student? To how we are saying that you are 75, what is the unit then we are using? Kilograms. 75 kilograms. When we are measuring with the height, how we are saying that? 150 centimeters. Right? So this is some kind of measurement. That is the numerical measurements. International measurement. But in the statistical context, our measurements are different. In the statistical context, our measurements are different. So don't confuse with our day-to-day life measurements and the statistical measurements. Statistical measurements are entirely different. So accordingly, for the weight, we are measuring with the numerical numbers and we are giving the units, whether it's a kilogram or pounds or grams, right, or tons. Similarly, we are having the units. Similarly, here also, we have the units. Those are called as scales. For the statistical context, we are using the scales. Our measurements, we are using what type of scales we are using to measure. Right? So there are 4 scales of measurements. They are classified as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, which are characterized by the properties of order, difference, and the ratio. We can distinguish those measures by looking at the properties of order, difference, and ratio. Right? So now we are talking about the scales of measurements in the context of statistics. Right. So now we look at each and every property. This property can be described by answering the following questions. Order. First property is order. So how you can find out whether the collected our statistical measurement has a order scale, how we can identify. So to identify whether our measurement has an order scale, we have to ask a question, does a larger number indicate a greater value than a smaller number? Now we are taking a small example. Let me take a pen. Right, here we have a gender, right? We have a variable gender. We want to measure gender. Right, how we are measuring gender? We are measuring with gender. The measurements for the gender are male and female. Right, now we are going to assign numbers to those measurements. We want to assign numbers. From this, we say that male is 1, because we know that our statistical measures are depending on the numerical facts. So based on that one, we are converting this qualitative measurements, right? This text measurements with the word by assigning the numbers male equals 1 and female equals 2. Right. Now here we want to compare. Right now because we have now numbers, so now we can compare 2 greater than 1. Numerically, this is right. 2 greater than 1. Numerically, this statement is correct. But in this context, whether this statement is correct or not. In this context, in the gender context, whether this statement is correct or not. Any student? Again, I am taking, we want to measure gender, right? Then the gender is measured, the measurements for the gender are male and female. Now we are converting this male and female with by taking the numerical numbers. Male we are assigned as 1 and female we assigned as 2. And then from this assignment, and we making the statement 2 greater than 1. Numerically, this 2 greater than 1 is right, correct one. But in this context of measurements for gender, can we compare, can we say that 2 greater than 1? Yes or no? Any student? Here actually 2 or greater than 1 means female greater than male. Is it right or wrong?
Right, ma'am.
Huh? Now this comparison indicate that, right? This 2 greater than 1 indicate that female greater than male. Is it, this statement is right or wrong? Or meaningful or not meaningful? Can we say that female greater than male?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? Can we say female is greater than male? Any other student? Can we say generally, right? Don't consider these numbers, right? Generally, can we say male is greater than female or female is greater than male? Can we compare?
No, ma'am.
No, we can't compare. We can't say that male equals female, or we can't say that male greater than female, right? Or we cannot say that female is lesser than male. This comparison is not meaningful. So here the property, order property is not meaningful. Right? So generally, now here what actually we are doing, we looking at whether what type of scale the gender has. So we are looking at the gender. How we are measuring the gender? By taking male or female. Right? So if we want to do some calculation, we have to have some numerical number. So only for that purpose, we assign male is 1 and female is 2. Even you can take male as 2, female is 1. Then looking at whether we can say that. In this case, we have female 2 and we have male as 1. And we have a statement 2 greater than 1. So in this context, 2 greater than 1 means female is greater than male. So now we can say that whether this comparison is meaningful or not. This is not meaningful because we cannot make any statement male is greater than female or female is greater than male or male is equal to female. They are 2 different distinctives. Right? So in this case, the order property is not meaningful for this variable. The order property is not meaningful for this variable. Right? Suppose another example we are taking. Another example, we can take marks. Right? We are measuring the marks with, we got the marks for 5 students as 75, 25, 30, and 40. Now one student got 30 marks and another student got 40 marks. Can we make this statement, the performance of the student A got 30 and the student B got 40 marks. Now can we say that the 40 is greater than 30? Can we say that 40 is greater than 30? Is it meaningful?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
these measurements?
Yes.
Yes, here 40 is greater than 30 is meaningful. So for the marks, the order property is valid, right? Because we can compare these 2 things, right? So now we're looking at another property, difference. Thus, how we can identify the difference property is valid for a particular measurement? We have to ask the question, does subtracting 2 numbers represent some meaningful value? Does subtracting 2 numbers represent some meaningful value? Right. Now for this one, first case, the subtraction 40 minus 30. That is 10. Is this 10 is meaningful? The difference is 10. Whether this 10 marks is meaningful or not. Students, whether the difference, by looking at the difference between 2 figures is meaningful or not?
Meaningful, ma'am.
Meaningful. Here, this 10 is meaningful, right? That we can say that the student is who got the marks 40 has a performance more than by 10 units for the student who got the marks 30, right? But here 2 minus 1, we are making the difference 2 minus 1. In this case, for the gender measurement, we are having 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. Is this 1 is meaningful here?
No, ma'am.
No,
No,
ma'am.
here the 1 is not meaningful, right? We cannot say anything, right? The difference between gender and male is 1 units. There is nothing, right? That is not a meaningful. So in the first case, marks, difference is meaningful, but in the order gender, the difference is not meaningful, right? Similarly, we are coming with a ratio. Thus, dividing or taking the ratio of 2 numbers represents some meaningful, right? In this case, 25 over 75. Is it meaningful? That is 1/3. Is it meaningful?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Because the ratio between the marks of two students are 1:3. So it is meaningful. But here, if we are making 1/2, half, is it meaningful? For the gender case.
No.
Is it? No, it is not meaningful. Male over female. Can we say anything? No. So for the gender, order is not meaningful, difference is not meaningful, ratio is not meaningful. But for marks, all three are meaningful. Order is meaningful, difference is meaningful, ratio is meaningful. Right? So now, we are based on these properties, we can categorize whether our variable measurements are nominal scale or ordinal scale or interval scale or ratio scale. Right? So the next slide is giving about this. Right. Now we look at a nominal scale. First measurement, we are taking a scale of measurement. This is called a scale of measurement. Measurements are what are the things we observe? Those are measurements. Then what are the scale those measurements have? That is, we are looking at the three properties. So similarly, a nominal scale of measurement represents something or someone and provide no additional information. That means it does not provide any order, or we cannot say about order, we cannot find difference, we cannot find ratio. If the measurements are obeying these things or providing this type of information, that is called a nominal scale. They does not provide any additional information. Only the just names. Right? The telephone numbers. We are looking at the telephone numbers. Does it provide any numerical information, these telephone numbers? Now, there are two, you have telephone numbers. If we are collecting 5 students' telephone numbers, by looking at those telephone numbers, can we say whether the one person telephone number is greater than other person telephone number? Is it provide any meaningful information?
No, ma'am.
No. Similarly, whether the difference between two telephone numbers giving any meaningful information? No. Right? Similarly, the credit card numbers, the license plate numbers, only those are used as labels for a particular person. Right? Those numbers, the telephone numbers or the credit card numbers or the license plate numbers, those will not give any comparisons, any meaningful numerical information. Those will not give any meaningful numerical information. So these numbers, these are coming under the nominal scale measurements. Similarly, gender, marital status, here these are having the numbers, but these are having the names, nationality. Tamil, Sinhala, Muslim, Burger. Right? That is race. Or Sri Lankan, Canadian, American, Pakistani, Indian. These are the nationality. These are with the names, text. But here, these are coming with the numbers. But in both cases, we cannot get any additional numerical information. So if those properties are obeyed, no ordering, no ratio, no difference, meaningful difference, then that kind of measurement is called the scale, nominal scale measurement. So telephone number is a nominal scale measurement. Credit card numbers have nominal scale measurements. License plate numbers have nominal scale measurements. Similarly, gender, the measurements are nominal. Marital status measurements are nominal. Nationality measurements are nominal. Why? Because properties on numbers assigned for nominal scale measurement, no meaningful order, no meaningful difference, no meaningful ratio. This is your justification. So if we want to say the measurements are nominal scale, you have to look at whether meaningful order is there, whether meaningful difference is there, whether meaningful ratio is there among the measurements. If not, then these are the nominal scale measurements, right? Then ordinal, right? An ordinal scale measurement is one that conveys order or rank. That means some value is greater or less than other value. Now here we can make some order. We can compare. For example, now education level. We are taking the education level, right? For education level, we have GCOL. The measurements, we have the measurements as primary. For the education level, measurements are primary, O level, A level, degree, and postgraduate degree. Now, can we compare OL is less than A level? Or the O level qualification is lower than A level qualification. Is it meaningful? O level is the lowest qualification comparing to the A level qualification. Is it meaningful?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Here, this is meaningful. Now we can say that degree is the highest qualification, higher qualifications comparing to the person having the A level qualification. Is it meaningful?
Yes.
Yes. So here we can compare. The comparison is meaningful with the education level, right? These measurements we can compare. But we can we say that the difference, degree minus, now we are saying that it is 1, it is 2, we are labeling. This is 3, this is 4. Can we say that 2 minus 1 equals 3 minus 2? Can we say that this one? The difference between A level minus primary is equal to the difference between degree minus A level.
No, ma'am.
So here we cannot, we can't say that these differences are same, right? So just we can compare the qualifications, but we can't say that to what extent the difference is. We cannot measure the difference between the two qualifications, right? So the difference is not meaningful, right? And can we say calculate the ratio 1/2? Is it meaningful? Primary over O level. Is it meaningful?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So the ratio is also not meaningful. So if the measurements only satisfy the order and the order is the meaningful and the difference and the ratio is not meaningful, then that state measurement is called as a scale of the measurement is ordinal, right? So now we are coming. Ordinal scale of measurement is one that conveys order or rank. Only that is meaningful. The others, difference and the ratio are not meaningful. Then that measurement is called, that scale of measurement is ordinal. So properties on the numbers assigned for ordinal scale of measurement has meaningful order, no meaningful difference, no meaningful ratio. So now we come to the two types scales of measurements. Measurements are the nominal level scale measurements and the ordinal level scale measurements, right? So the finishing order in a competition, education level, rankings of universities, these are some examples for the ordinal scale of measurements, right? Now we are coming for the scales of measurements, interval scales of measurement. So the interval scales are measurements that have no true zero and distributed in equal units. What are the attributes in the interval scales have? They don't have no true zero, but they are distributed in equal units. Now we are looking at the temperature, right? Now we are looking at temperature. 25 degree, it is Celsius or Fahrenheit, right? 25, 35, 0, 42, minus 20, minus 35. These are the measurements for the measurements for the temperature. Now, what is the meaning of this zero? In the context of temperature, what is the meaning of zero? Any student? Can we say that there is no temperature? If the measurement is 0 degree, can we say that there is no temperature?
No, ma'am.
We can't say that there is some temperature, right? But that is colder than the temperature with 25 degrees, right? So if we are comparing these two temperatures, 0 and minus 20, only we can say that it is little hot than the temperature of 20 degrees. The 0 degrees is hotter than the minus 20 degrees temperature. So, but we can't say that there is, if 0 is there, we can't say that there is no temperature. There is some temperature that is maybe cold or hot comparing to some others. So here we are saying that the 0 has no true value. But in the sales, we are saying that if no sales, then how we are saying that, denoting? If there is no sales, how we are indicating? If there is no sales, how we are indicating the numbers?
0, ma'am.
0. If there is no sales, then we are saying that the sales is 0. So there, the 0 has a meaningful. 0 is true 0. That is a fixed meaning. But in the temperature case, 0 has no 0 value, right? This is a different value, right? So in our measurements, actually, the interval scales measurements are numerical values. The only difference is there is no true 0. The 0 does not have a fixed meaning. The 0 does not have a fixed meaning. That is an arbitrary 0 value. So if this is the case, then we can say that the measurements, the scales of these measurements are interval. The scales of the measurements are interval. But here the difference is meaningful. 25 minus 35 minus 25. 10 degrees, right? So this particular product has a When we are comparing the two temperature, we can say that this temperature is higher than 10 degrees. Right? When comparing these two measurements, we can say that this is the temperature is higher than by 62 degrees. Right? So here we can compare, but the ratio cannot be calculated. Why? Because there is no, we can't say that 2 times higher degree than comparing to other temperature, because there is no fixed zero. If there is a fixed zero, then only we can calculate the ratio. For the sales figures, we can calculate the ratio. For profit figures, we can calculate the ratios, because that zero is a fixed and indicate the true meaning. There is nothing. But in the interval case, zero, that does not have proper meaning, not a fixed value. So interval scales, that's why we are saying that interval scales are the measurement that have no true zero. And but the difference is meaningful. Order is meaningful, difference is meaningful, the ratio is not meaningful. Then that is called an interval scale. Then here also, the rating of satisfaction, a 5-point scale. One completely unsatisfied to completely satisfied. Here, don't look at this much emphasize, because here this scale you will learn about in your third year research methodology. Here we make some assumptions. The differences between those two measures, but for example, we are taking as a satisfactions, right? Completely satisfied. Completely satisfied. Then satisfied. Then moderately satisfied. Or satisfied. Moderately satisfied. Dissatisfied. Completely dissatisfied. This type of measurements are called Likert scale measurements. Here we are saying that the difference between the satisfaction and the completely satisfaction is same as the difference between the moderately satisfied and the satisfied. This is a measurement specially created for the perceptions of the customers or perceptions of the, to measure the perceptions of the persons, right? To measure the perceptions of the individuals, to measure the perceptions of the individual. This kind of measurement is created in 1942 or something, 1932 or something. These measurements are created. This is called as a Likert measurements, Likert scale measurements. Here with the assumptions, the difference between two measurements are same. The difference between two measurements are same and they don't have true zero. They don't have true zero and the measurements, the difference between two measurements are same. So this type of measurements also has a interval scales measurements, right? So the rating of the perceptions of individuals, mainly the social signs, the attitudes of the customers or attitudes of the persons are measured through this rating scales. If these scales are not there, then we cannot do most of the social science researchers, right? Most of the social science researchers are depending on this measurements, scale types of measurements, interval measurements, right? So, in this case, we have the rating scales and the temperatures are some examples for scales of measurements. Only the order is possible, meaningful, difference is meaningful, and the ratio is not meaningful. Why in this case ratio is not meaningful? They don't have no zero value, right? So these are some examples for interval scale. So based on these examples, now here we are mentioned that scores on the rating scale are distributed in equal units. That means the difference between scores are informative or meaningful. Then, so the order is also meaningful. It has no zero because the temperature equal to 0 does not mean that there is no temperature. In this also, if we are assigning 0, then we cannot say that no satisfaction. We can use 1 or 0 to indicate no satisfaction. So if there is no 0, then the proportion is also not meaningful, right? So these are the properties for interval scale. Then for ratio scale, everything is meaningful, right? Number of defectives, number of sales, length, height, time, marks, all these are the measurements are the ratio level scales, ratio scales measurements, right? So ratio scale measurement that is equidistant and has true 0, most informative scale of measurement. Any mathematical operation you can perform. You can calculate the mean, you can calculate the median, you can calculate variance, any statistical measures you can calculate, right? Then based on these examples, now here we are summarizing scales of measurements, the properties. There are 2-3 properties we have to look at to identify whether the measurement is scale. The scale of the measurement is nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio by looking at the order, by looking at the difference, by looking at the ratio. So if the scale of the measurement is nominal, then these 3 properties are not meaningful. The scale of the measurement is ordinal, then order is only meaningful, other 2 are not meaningful. If the scale of the measurement is interval, order and difference are meaningful, ratio is not meaningful. And if the scale of the measurement is ratio, then these 3 properties, order property, difference property, ratio property are meaningful. So this is the method of identifying what type of scales the measurements are having, right? Then now I am stopping at this state. Then we have to look at the types of variables. So in the next class, we will continue by type of the variable. So before coming to the next class, you have to be ready with what are the section already we covered, right? And also you have to have thorough understanding to get understanding on the measurements and the scales to get the proper understanding of the type of variables. So now I am stopped to share this PowerPoint slides. Right, any clarification you want to make from me? whether the lecture was understandable and clarity. Or you want to some improvements on my lectures? Anything you can let me know. If you want to say something, you can put in the chat box also. Is any improvement you want on my lectures? Say yes or no at least.
No, ma'am.
So everything is okay. Then the participant, only there are 234. Actually, I think in LMS there are 290 students. So, but now only 234 students. So I don't know what other students are doing. If you are missing your lectures, it is very difficult, right? Then doing the exam and everything, it will be difficult to you. So please come to the classes regularly and attend the lectures, and what are the things we are saying in the class, please concentrate on it. Then only you can perform your exams very well. And also the statistics is very important to continue your third year study in the statistical software applications and for the research methodology also. And for the quantitative knowledge is very important in your employability, right? So I think comparing to mathematics, the statistics is very easy. If you have proper understanding on it, then easily you can gain the marks, right? So today, go and learn about what so far we done in the class, right? And when you are coming to the next class, you have to clear with all the terms we studied. Then only when I am asking the question, then you can interact, right? So today, so many interactions with me. I am very happy with you because when I am asking the questions, you are saying that, right? So even if something is wrong, then we can rectify it. So if you have some understanding on the concepts we learn, then only you also confidently you can interact in the class. So when we are interacting in the class, we can get more things. So when you are making errors on answering, then we can identify what type of errors you are making. Then we can clear it during the class, right? So when you are coming to the class, you have to prepare very well with the previous sections, not in the future section. With the previous sections, you have to be clear with that, right? So with this advice, now I'm going to end my session, right? Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.